Now, there were tense scenes between crowds and police outside the hotel that tennis ace Novak Djokovic is being held in overnight. But it wasn't the Serb supporters. They were putting on a folk dance display while refugee advocates climbed an awning and spray-painted slogans on the building that acts as a detention centre for several asylum seekers. The world number one spent the night at the facility after a court said he could remain in Australia while his application for a review of his cancelled visa was considered.
Adding to the diplomatic round, Djokovic's family in Serbia held a press conference accusing the Australian government of holding their son prisoner. A fast-moving story, so let's go straight to our sport presenter, Tom Maddox, who's outside the Melbourne hotel where Djokovic is being detained. Tom, good morning. It's been a busy night at the hotel. What's happened?
Good morning, Is. Good morning, Fauzia, and good morning to our viewers. Novak Djokovic has woken up on Orthodox Christmas morning in an immigration detention hotel in Melbourne. Certainly not the Orthodox Christmas I'm sure he had envisioned and his team had envisioned. Of course, he's going to be here until at least Monday, as you say, as the Federal Circuit Court waits to hear the next step in the case that his lawyers have launched against federal authorities in Australia over their decision to cancel his visa. And so he's here until at least Monday as they fight to try and save him from being deported and, ultimately allow him to compete in this month's Australian Open. Yesterday he arrived mid-morning from Melbourne's Tullamarine Airport and there was a steady stream of supporters, Novak fans, who came and turned up there in support of Novak. There were also asylum seeker advocates, refugee advocates who were here protesting their cause. And late last night, things turned a little bit ugly. We know that Novak fans were here singing and cheering, and refugee advocates were also peacefully putting their case forward. But police have put out a statement this morning saying two women involved in the protests who climbed the awning of the hotel here and allegedly spray-painted the edifice. They've been arrested and taken into police custody for those allegations. So some interesting scenes here overnight. Right now it's quiet and calm as Novak continues his stay in this hotel. There has been some questions put to tennis players around the world, of course, in response to this saga, none more so than Rafa Nadal, who, of course, sits on 20 Grand Slam singles titles alongside Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer. He effectively said Novak could have avoided this drama had he been vaccinated. Let's listen to what Rafael Nadal had to say.
In some way, I feel sorry for him, but at the same time, he knew the conditions since a lot of months ago.
So Rafael Nadal there, he's been pretty consistent on that line, supporting vaccinations for some time. But of course, Isk, as you say, this has turned into a diplomatic row. There has been international fallout swiftly. So let's now bring in our London correspondent, Isabella Higgins. Isabella, I understand that Novak Djokovic's family has spoken of this saga overnight. What have they said?
Well, Tom, I think you could probably describe them as enraged or furious. They certainly did not mince their words in the slightest. His father went as far as to claim that Australia made this decision for political reasons and not for health reasons. He says that Australia is uncomfortable that the world's best tennis player is Serbian. He says this makes the West uncomfortable. Some very big accusations there. And his mother as well made some comments calling for him to be released, and together the two of them actually called on all of his supporters all around the world to come out and rally and show their support for the player. The two of them led a rally in the Serbian capital, and there were dozens and dozens of people there chanting. Some of what we heard out of that was that Novak is Serbia, Serbia is Novak. So you really got a sense for how much his country loves and supports him. At that protest, we heard from his mother, Diana Djokovic, talking about the conditions, that detention facility that he's being held in, and she described it as prison-like. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
That they are keeping him as a prisoner. It's just not fair, it's not human. So I just hope that he will be strong, as we are trying also to be very strong.
So as you can see there, Tom, there's some pretty strong feelings coming out of his home country from his family, but just also plenty of supporters.
And Isabella, I understand that the Serbian president has reiterated his support for Novak Djokovic. Do we know what he said?
Yeah, that's right, Tom. And he made quite a strong statement today when he addressed the media. He says that his government will do whatever they need to do to support Novak Djokovic, that already his ministers, his officials are liaising with the Australian government, that they will do whatever they need to do to get him out of this hotel, this immigration facility, and into private accommodation so he can get back to playing tennis at this rented accommodation that he had previously organised until this court challenge progresses, when we're expecting perhaps a decision on Monday. But the president actually accused Australia of political interference on this. He called on the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, to take action. So again, really, really strong messages coming out of Serbia, and you get the sense that if Novak Djokovic isn't able to play at the Australian Open, this will probably be a country in mourning.
All right, Isabella Higgins in London, thanks for your time. Iskan Fauzia, just on that legal challenge, we will hear from a lawyer a little later in the program, just explaining some of the ins and outs of what happens now, what Novak Djokovic's lawyers will be hoping to argue. The fact is, at the moment, after the hearing yesterday, we haven't heard a lot of the facts of the case. A lot of the evidence hasn't been put forward, so there's still a little bit of uncertainty. But, of course, Novak has been able to buy a bit more time until Monday at least.